Hello folks, Crystal Cox here, and I am the broker owner of Goddess Realty. My real estate company in Montana used to be Tin Lakes Realty. And year after year, pretty much week after week, I get this question on my blog. I get emailed the question, I get this question searched on my blogs, and I've done videos before touching on this topic, but I want to talk about it a little bit more. So the question that people ask is, when do I sue for specific performance? Can I sue for specific performance? How long does it take to sue for specific performance? What'll the attorney cost me? What is the realtor liable for? What is the seller liable for? The buyer liable for? Okay. First of all, what is specific performance for those of you who don't know? And that's basically, you have a contract in a real estate deal. And it's the tip there. Before you sign the documents at closing, go and make sure that the things are taken care of. Like, this is an exaggeration, but it's representative of anything that you want. Say you wanted a red shoe to be on the porch the day of closing. Go over to the house and make sure the red shoe's on the porch before you sign the closing documents. Okay? And obviously you know that could be a new water heater, a new roof, that could be anything that red shoe represents. Once you sign it, then you're in lawsuits, and they could ruin your life. They're going to ruin your pocketbook. The realtors, run off. Their insurance protects them. The sellers are gone. They're going to spend that money long before you get a judgment to get it. Lots of things happen. So you want to make sure that everything is done before you sign the closing papers. Okay. Also on that note, real estate contracts are not standard. The National Association of Realtors broker, which is called a realtor. I'm not a realtor, I'm a broker owner. I do not belong to that association because I don't think they protect the consumers, okay? Those forms are standard, but they're not law, okay? You're a party to the contract. You can change anything on that form you want and initial it, okay? And if you're and then the other party has to initial that they agree to it, okay? You're parties to the contract. So you're acting as your own lawyer, okay? The realtor's not a lawyer. Even if you get a lawyer involved, still, it's about you, the buyer and the seller, okay? So you want to make sure everything's in that contract the way that you want it. Okay, no matter what the realtor says, it'd be just like, oh, this form's just standard, so just sign that, just sign it. No, they're not standard, okay? They're there to protect the realtor, okay? Change anything you want. Don't leave anything blank on a contract. If it doesn't apply, put NA. You can initial it. Initial every page. Add a page. If you don't have a computer or the realtor won't write it up for you, write it another contract and put addendum to buy, sell, dated, and then put the legal or the address or whatever, and then both parties sign it. Like if you want something added to the contract that the realtor refuses to write up, okay? This is your deal. Not only that, folks, this is your entire life. Okay? This can ruin your health if there's mold issues. This can ruin your life, your pocketbook, stress, lawsuits, okay? So the real estate transaction is a big deal. So make sure that things are done before you sign and don't trust anybody. Okay? Go over to the house before the closing. Make sure. Okay? All right. So you've closed the deal and the seller didn't do something they promised to do on the contract. Okay, so you're suing them, you want to sue them for specific performance, so you want to sue them to perform on the contract in a specific way. Okay, now as far as how long these lawsuits take, a month, 10 years, you never know. There's no standard, folks. Really, you have to kind of weigh your options here. How much does it cost? Who lied? Who do you need to sue? What do you know, okay? How much is an attorney going to cost you? And with what I know now, I would file legal actions pro se. Okay? Because you can, yes, have more freedom, but attorneys cost a lot of money, and lawsuits can take years. Okay, so if you have your contract and you can get your chronology, you put down the things that happen in chronology in your lawsuit when you file, and for relief, you want the seller or the realtor to perform specific actions. Okay, and you can kind of get the ball rolling that way. And I'm not, necessarily giving you legal advice, but this is what I would do, having been through real estate cases that ruined my life and health stuff and all sorts of things. But you really have to sit down and decide, is your health worth it? Is your marriage worth it? How much of your life do you want to give up for this lawsuit? Because they can take years. There is no standard. And even if the realtor flat out lies to you, odds are you can't necessarily prove that they knew that there was a problem. Even if you got an MLS sheet that shows that they lied, you're going to spend a lot more money, especially if they're a chain, like Coldwell Banker, Century 21, ERA, whatever, which are all owned by the same company. What is it, Realty or something? They have more money to fight than you, okay? So then they keep you in court until the realtor's right, okay? So how much money, is it better to put $20,000 into a new well than to sue them to perform on that and then legal fees? You really have to kind of weigh your options. And for me too, I do this, I have an intense spiritual belief, so I, pray and talk to your partner, the business partner, your spouse or whatever, and really decide what you want to do about this. How much proof do you have? Where does the proof come from? If you want to sue for specific performance, sometimes it doesn't come down to necessarily whether you have the truth or not. It comes down to what the jury's going to believe. They're going to, is the seller some 80-year-old guy, and even though he lied, cheated, and steal, they're going to believe him over you? I mean, there's a lot of things to weigh. But if you have enough facts and enough evidence and you present it, clear, then you might have a chance. But how much is your attorney going to cost? So I sound like I'm talking you out of suing, and in a way I kind of am, because I've seen it ruin people's lives and then they lose anyway. But if you do sue, make sure that you have your chronology, in order of what happened, as much documented facts as you can, and don't let an attorney run the show. Okay, you run the show. Because you know what's going on, and they just throw you in the back seat and shut you up, right? And they act like they know best, and this is the law, because they want to go for the law to push the button so that they can get their 40% or whatever as fast as possible. When really, you should have went further in the case because you have a better case. Okay, so you have to trust your gut. You'll have to research the cause of actions. You'll have to, there's a lot to it. So if you decide to undertake this as a job and there's enough money in it for you and you really want justice, then go for it. But at the same time, there's a lot of things to weigh. Really maybe get bids on fixing it. Send a letter to the other side of, here's the laws that we're going to sue under, and here's the issues, and here's the bids to fix it. And see if they're willing to settle, maybe pay for half of it, finding some way before you get into years and years of litigation. Because, like I said, over those years, they'll hide their assets. The realtors will hide their assets too. Everybody will fight, and you'll have so much stress on your life and your health. And so whatever you can do to settle it sooner is going to save more on your life. And with realtors, you'd think that if you sued them, they have insurance. Well, their E&O insurance basically steps in, and they're very powerful, and they put a close sign, and they protect the realtor. Those standard forms that you sign protects the realtors. There's all these little loopholes. So basically, the realtor can lie, cheat, and steal, and they can run off with the money, okay? You are responsible for your own real estate transaction, okay? I did a video recently about a real estate consultant that I do that for hire. Like in that situation, if you don't want to get into the house, or you're not at the scene of the incident, you're signing your documents over mail, make sure, can hire a real estate consultant, a local agent, pay them by the hour. And even though the association says, no, you can't do that, you have a right to do that, and really a moral obligation to your family to send someone up there that's a third party and pay them by the hour and say, okay, did they actually do that? Did they actually paint the ceiling? Did they actually fix this part? Maybe talk to the contractor that did it, check it out, have a real estate consultant be on the ground and make sure these things are happening. Okay, the most important thing is not hindsight, okay, to make sure these things are happening before you sign the closing documents, okay? After you sign the closing documents, you're kind of screwed. You're kind of helpless. You got lawsuits, you got money, you got all kinds of things. Before you sign, you got all the power. Okay, now the real estate agents don't get paid until you sign. The seller don't get paid until you sign. You have all the power, but you have to make sure that everything's done and that nobody's lying. Go to happy hour, check the rumor mill, go to that property at different times of night. There's different things to do to make sure that you're not buying something that someone's lying, okay? Home inspectors, I'm going to tell you. Real estate agents that are only getting paid based on the sale, they may not know or whatever. They're just like, hey, we're just, we're just here for the party, We just listed it and we just showed it to you, and that's kind of all they do. They don't get in there and root around and poke around and do all this stuff and really be looking out for you, okay? A real estate consultant would do that, because they're paid by the hour to look out for you, and they're going to get paid either way, so they're going to give you a really good neutral opinion. When you go to sue for specific performance, like I said, again and again, people ask me, how long does it take? It could take the rest of your life. Do you have a leg to stand on? Is it a good case? Probably. You're probably in the right, and you probably have a mountain of proof. But getting it in a certain order, and what court are you in? Are you in a local court? Does the seller know the local agents? Are they all good old boys? Do they know the commissioners? Do they know the governor? Do they know the judge? It doesn't matter how much proof you have, you're wrong and you lose. But you paid a whole bunch of money to, forensics engineers, to attorneys, whatever, to get this far, and then you lose anyway. So make sure you know more before you sign, and if you're going to sue for specific performance, again, you can do a letter of intent to the seller and state the cause of actions that you're going to sue under, maybe get a bid of what it's going to cost to fix it, and come to an agreement, and that's probably the best way to do it. But if you launch flat out into a lawsuit about specific performance, you're really taking on a lot. Okay, now each situation is definitely case by case, but these general questions that people are emailing me, and like I said, every week, years on end, people have questions about suing for specific performance because, they're upset that a real estate transaction didn't go the way they wanted. What rights do they have? Well, the Association of Realtors, they bring in a bunch of money to lobby against your rights as consumers, really, which is why I quit NAR. Okay, the real estate consumer has no rights. The real estate consumer has no protection. The only way for you to have any protection at all, in my opinion, is a real estate consultant. And not many people are doing real estate consulting because the good old boys network of real estate agencies are pushing them out. Because they want to just sit back and list and sell real estate. And in this current real estate climate of saying dual agency is bad, and that it's bad for consumers, well, dual agencies, in my opinion, is better for consumers. If you go to the listing agent, I feel like you're going to know more about the property. You're probably going to get a better deal. The deal's going to go smoother. There's not going to be a whole bunch of rigmarole, okay, for one. But also, if you hire an agent, don't you want him to work for you? I mean, people don't want dual agencies, so they want to hire a listing agent. Okay, then all I got to do is schmooze everybody. Hey, sign with me. I'm the best. I'm going to sell it. Bull! Sign with me. I'm going to fill out this form, put it in the MLS, or have my secretary do it, and then I'm going to go do whatever because dual agencies, all right, I can't sell it. Buyer's agent's got to sell it because that's the law, and that's what they want. And they sit back and do nothing. All they got to do is advertise it, and if they advertise it, then they're really advertising to other agents, right? Don't you want the listing agent to be a go-getter? Find me a buyer. Advertise on Craigslist, on YouTube, in the newspaper. Go door to door. Find me a buyer. Well, if you don't like dual agency, then you're really hiring an agent that you don't want to actually work for you. All right, anyway, lots more on dual agency another day. Again, Crystal Cox, Goddess Realty, and I hope you have a great day.